going on? What's going on? Hopefully you can hear me pretty good. Another episode 9 of the Guerilla Filmer Podcast. Had a pretty good weekend, so decided to go ahead and record this podcast. I usually do these ahead of time, so I don't have to rush and do everything all at once, but had a busy weekend. It was Easter weekend, been out and about with the family, having to finish a script that I have on cue, trying to get all those ducks in a row as I am preparing for a pretty busy summer and beyond as far as producing projects. So got a lot going on, so I'm just sitting here getting all these ducks in a row, and I said, hey, I still got this episode 9 of the Guerilla Filmer Podcast that I have to get together, and here we are. We're gonna get all of this stuff together. How are you guys out there doing? What's the word on the streets, as they say? Hopefully everybody is having a good week, and we are all progressing and growing together as we pursue this hard, arduous thing called filmmaking. Today, the topic is, as I spoke about film festivals on the last episode, as promised, I'm going to talk about distribution. Distribution is one of those things that there's not a lot of information on. And if there is information available, people aren't too forthcoming about it. We all are kind of secretive when it comes to that side of the business because this is a naturally competitive field. Just call it what it is. It is a competitive field. It's a lot of filmmakers out there. It's a lot of films, and we all want to make money. We all want to make a living ourselves. So secrets and little tidbits that we may grab along the way, you're kind of protective of that information because you don't want, to out position yourself to make the most money or make an opportunity that's lucrative at the moment, to lessen that for yourself, to kind of take you out of your own box. That's the thinking of a lot of independent filmmakers. And the thing that I'm noticing the more as I grow as a filmmaker myself is you can have that mindset, but some people are going to do what they want to do anyway. Some people, no matter what, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. You can put the information out there. I always heard a saying, if you want to hide a secret, put it in a book. You got some people who just will not go seek that information. They still want somebody to do everything for them. So no matter, even this podcast, the little tidbits that I put out there, doesn't mean anybody is going to listen or take heed to it. It is what it is. So, if you have that mindset, although I understand it, it's not necessarily valid, if I can put it that way. And distribution for no budget filmmakers is a little bit different than most people, because for one, if you have a no budget project, you're probably not hot for distributors anyway. Your project has to be really good or niche based for a distributor to even consider your project in the first place. So our options are a little bit less, and we have to think a little bit differently when we're approaching distribution. So what should your approach for distribution be? That's a loaded question. It should be based on your needs. It should be based on your goals. It should be based on your budget. If you have a very, very low budget, I mean very low, under $10,000, I would strongly encourage you to think of self-distribution. Now, people talk about self-distribution like it's easy, and it's not. You have to put it out there. You have to promote yourself. But some distributors, you have to do it anyway. So my look at self-distribution is, if I'm researching and I'm looking at a distributor to submit my film to, um if that distributor is not helping me put it out there, why am I signing up to this person? Why am I signing this contract, giving this person exclusive rights over my streaming or whatever else, if I still have to put all the work on the forefront? And if that's you, I would say you need to go the self-distribution route. I believe everybody knows about Film Hub. Film Hub is an outlet that allows you basically to self-distribute. It just puts your title available for these platforms. There is a misconception that Film Hub is kind of like a distributor, which they're not. You hear the term marketplace. Just from my own experience dealing with them, which I've dealt with them on nearly all of my titles because I'm a self distributor myself. I love to, since I have to put that work out there, I don't want to have to split those profits when it's not doing me any good. If this person is not, helping me market or getting me PR services, if I'm having to do all of that myself, I'm going to take on all the risk of self distribution myself because I'm already doing all this myself. So Film Hub has always been an option for me. And what I'm noticing is there is a limit to Film Hub. Amazon, you most of the time you're going to get on that. Although I've had films declined by Amazon, but most of the time it's because I was either resubmitting or something there. But you yourself, you can set up an Amazon Video Direct account and submit your own projects to Amazon. You don't need Film Hub for that. So Film Hub is going to do that when you upload a project there because that's pretty much easy. And then you have some other smaller platforms that Film Hub will submit to, and then it's just out there. They make your title available, with their hashtags and stuff. And if there's a company looking for a certain amount of content or whatever, they'll select your title and it'll be delivered to them through Film Hub. Film Hub is a great platform, but the difference between Film Hub and a distributor usually has these relationships directly with these platforms to where they'll automatically pitch or deliver your content to these particular places. So say, Tubi is the hot spot right now for indie filmmakers. Film Hub makes it available. You may or you may not get selected by Tubi. It just matters on that algorithm and however they do things on that side. I've had projects get selected pretty quickly. I've had projects take a long time. I've had projects not get selected. But I've seen people who go through certain distributors automatically because they have a direct contact with Tubi. They automatically get their projects delivered to Tubi. So that's something you have to think there. Great platform. They take 20%. And you can remove your projects, take your projects back at any time. There's no paperwork signed. So I like Film Hub, but there are limitations if you're trying to go farther. And then you have distributors I call low risk distributors where they have short terms, they take their share, and then once again, most of the promotion and everything is going to be on you. They tell you that up front. They tell you, look, you're going to have to promote. We don't take marketing fees or nothing like that. We don't take these fees. We get your content on this platform, take our 20% share, send you out quarterly payments and insights. Someone like Indies Rights is a company where I call a low risk distributor. If you sign with them and you don't have a good experience, you're only with them for 3 years. And then from what I'm hearing from other filmmakers, they love that option because, you know, versus Film Hub where you're not guaranteed placement in certain platforms, Indies Rights has direct relationships with a lot of these platforms, and they will get your content there. So you have that option to go with someone like that who's a more of a low risk distributor is how I name them, and get your content placed that way. And I've noticed too, especially like compared to Film Hub and somewhere like Indies Rights, say if you get your project placed TVOD on somewhere like Amazon, the TVOD places the price of that content is higher, so your split is going to be higher. Whereas with Film Hub, I put a new release on Film Hub that got listed on Amazon, and it was like $5 to buy it, $5. Where compared to somewhere like Indies Rights, it's the full price, like $12 or so. So you're after the Amazon takes their cut, and then they take their 20% share. Your profit is higher as compared to Film Hub, where you're basically getting $1 after all that's said and done. So that's something to think about as well. And then you have more of your traditional distributors where the terms are longer, most of the time over 5 years, 5 to 10, even up to 15. Some of these take distribution fees to deliver and QC and all this and that. Some even have marketing fees. I just say you have to do your research on that. My film, The Reaper Man, which is coming out here very shortly. I signed a more traditional distribution deal for that one, mostly because I wanted the education. And, you know, that particular company had something called MG, which is a minimum guarantee, which very few are doing nowadays, where they'll guarantee you'll make this much profit and they'll cut you that check ahead of time. So that company gave me that, and, you know, that MG basically broke even on my budget, just to be 100 with you. It wasn't much. You know, without getting into specifics, it was well under what anybody else would probably consider um a great advance, I guess, as if that's the right word to say. But for me, it was perfect. Sorry, I got a lot of going on here, phones going off and all this and that. But for me, it was perfect. Because for one, I wanted the learning experience. I wanted to see if having a distributor would just, and having that reach will benefit me more. You know, having that reach in, you know, all of these different platforms worldwide, would that benefit me more? Am I stun my own growth by just strictly being a self distributor? So it was more of, let me see how this goes. I had to, you know, with this company specifically, it's no marketing fees. I hired my own PR because I didn't want those marketing fees and stuff, you know, because I think companies with marketing fees, I believe that they could at any time jack up fees for no reason at all because they're marketing. And most of the major studios, you see the marketing, but these indie film studios, I've have yet to see the marketing other than just their personal social media pages. So I'm one that, because I do come from a self-distribution background, I will keep my own marketing, even if it's offered. So with the specific distributor I'm dealing with, um, it was a long term. It was a longer term, longer than 3 years. So, I kind of got that to where I was comfortable, but, no marketing fees, a low distribution fee, and a nice split on the back end. I believe it was, I want to say almost 80% to me, 20% to them, which is typical. May have been a little bit more than that on my end. I think it was a little bit better than that, but the back end split, once everything, the MG and everything was recouped, it was favorable to me. So I was cool with that contract. I felt comfortable as my first big distribution deal to go that route. But like, my situation is different. I self finance. I have smaller budgets. And like I said, I just broke even on my film before I even released it. So everything from this point on is profit for me. So my situation is different than most people. I get films, I make films, just to kind of give you a insight. I haven't made a film over a $7,000 budget. I haven't made a film over a $7,000 budget. That was the highest budget I've ever had. And even saying that, that that budget is more than the budget I made the Reaper Man for. So just, without putting too much specifics out there, you can read between the lines. So my budgets are way lower because I do everything. I cut all of that out. Most of my profit is going toward my actors. So my situation may not be the same for you. You may have to seek more traditional distribution, especially if you're dealing with investors and you got money you need to pay back. You need to have more of a guarantee, or more of a avenue to get that cash back. So unless you have a great fan base, um, sometimes you may have to shoot that shot with a distributor and hope that you've done the research and talked to enough filmmakers to know that this distributor is going to do what they say they're going to do. And then you have some distributors out there who are going into this production deal thing, where especially if you've had a film through them before and they like your content, where they're offering to give you 10, 20,000, I've heard as big as $30,000 to fund a film, and you pay yourself out of that, do what you got to do. Is basically giving you a budget for a movie, and the movie is theirs after it's done. You have that option. I'm not too hip to that option, but my goals as far as a filmmaker is way different. I'm more for ownership. I don't want to do all of that work, write, direct, edit, and at the end of the day, it's their film to keep just because they put money on it. That's the game, that's the business, but it's just not for me. That may be for you. That may be an approach that works for you. Maybe this is all you're doing every day to eat, This is how you pay your bills. So maybe going that route works for you. You just treat it like, hey, I'm paying my bills to do what I love. Everybody is different. It's just, what's your approach to distribution? How do you want to continue to do this? For me, it's self-distribution. I like Film Hub. I'm looking at my next film going through a company like Indies Rights, and trying that method. I might go with the same company that did the Reaper Man and see if that'll work again. I don't know. It just, my goals and my experience from the Reaper Man will kind of dictate how I move on my next film. But I'm big on self-distribution. I that the Indies Rights way, with the short term and the 80-20 split, and none of those added fees is very attractive to me. As long as I can kind of keep up to the type of platforms that my content will be available on. And that's the thing whenever you look at it. You just want to know, because another thing, you don't want having your content on a bunch of platforms does you no good either if it's not being seen or sold on those platforms. We love the thought, I'm talking to myself, of being available everywhere. Oh, I got my stuff on Peacock. I got my stuff on Amazon. I got my stuff on Google TV. I got my stuff on iTunes. I got my stuff on cable. Like, just having that thought, knowing that you're available that many places, is something that kind of feeds that ego of, man, I'm successful here. I got my content all over these platforms. But if you're only making money off of two platforms, what's the sense in being on all of the rest? Like, you need to stick with what's working. I know it looks good, it sounds good when you Google and you see your project on this long list of stores, but if those stores it's just sitting there and collecting dust, what good is it doing other than, like I said, feeding your ego? Tubi is the main player right now. How long is that going to be? I've been doing this long enough to know that could change instantly, and something else comes up and takes its place. I've been telling people for a while now, I got a feeling film is going to be like music, whereas, iTunes and YouTube music, like, it's so much music out there you can't even keep up. It's going to be the favor of the algorithms, your own hard work and building a base is how you're going to succeed in the future. Having a brand is how you're going to succeed in the future. And a distributor is just a piece of that puzzle. A distributor is the last piece of that puzzle. It's to get you out there. How are you going to partner with to get your content out where you want to go? Because they want to make money too. You have some distributors who are just building content, getting that content library up. But the more content they can get and the more content that they can work hard to get sold and to make you money, they make money, which keeps them in business. And then you have some out there who are shady. You do have a lot of shady distributors, and you have to keep that in mind. One that I haven't had a good relationship with, not gonna say any names, but it was one of the first, and it's a very popular distributor. I submitted my project. Took a while to hear back from them, but they eventually contacted me back. Offered me a MG, which is a minimum guarantee of like $2,000, and then I remember the marketing fees and a bunch of other fees. They were like six figures. I mean, it was crazy. It was a crazy amount of fees, and just a bunch of other stuff going through that contract that, looking back now, I'm glad that fell through. But the film that I wanted to try with them, I've already made my money back, made a little profit. It was an older film. So I was like, let me see how this is. And I submitted to them, went through the process, and somewhere along the way, they just went ghost on me. They didn't complete the process themselves, which was a red flag to me. I kept emailing like, hey, what's going on here? So that contract, I even went through, I think, the point of signing the contract, and it needed something else on their end in order to finalize everything, and they never finalized it. So the contract fell void, and which I'm glad they did in hindsight, because it was a stupid deal. And you have to look through your paperwork and make sure that, for me, it was information collecting. I felt like, man, this film, has done all it's gonna do. Let me just see how this works. And the crazy thing is, after that contract voided and that deal fell through, I ended up making even more money on that movie that I probably would have never seen. I made way more than the MG they offered me, and I would have never seen another dime if I accepted that MG and signed that contract. Like, I don't see how. I could tell that was one of the companies that would be the ones, like, if even if you got close to paying off those fees that were in that contract, I could see them adding a marketing fee, saying, "Oh, we had to market it a little bit here or something there, so we had to add these fees." Like, I can't see you ever getting another dime from that company if you had to sign that traditional contract with them. So you have to kind of keep an eye out for people like that. The marketing fees, like, come on. Have you ever seen a billboard, a commercial from this company on TV? If you haven't, if your answer is no, screw those marketing fees. I don't want any of them. Take them out my contract. I'll market myself. That's the number one way to get you ripped off. Some of them have delivery fees for QC in their QC house or whatever. It shouldn't be that much money either, though. So just talk to another filmmaker. Talk to um, anybody that you know has a film distributed through that certain company, or just, hey, just message them. If you research and find a few, just message them. A lot of filmmakers will tell you. Most filmmakers are forthcoming, especially if they've had a bad experience with a distributor. They'll tell you if they've had a bad one. You'll have a few that may not want to if they've had a good one. I don't know, I guess, but I think most filmmakers will at least tell you, "Hey, you might want to watch out. Hey, yeah, this is a pretty good place. I like them." And with the distributor that I just signed with, the Reaper Man, which is coming out April 18th, shameless plug. I did that. I questioned some filmmakers that I know deal with them, and they gave me a good review of the company. Talking with the company on my first call, I kind of felt good about it. So it's a risk either way. And it's a risk that I took, to be determined how that turns out. But like I said, I've already broke even. It's all profit from here. And I like working that way. You know, if I had to take a six-figure budget or something like that to get something done, like, I'm thinking about this way ahead of time. Like, I want to know, how can I mitigate this risk as much as possible? And I'm shooting for major studios, if that's the case. I'm shooting for A24 or something like that. I'm trying to get those relationships and see if I can make that happen, because if I'm dealing with a budget that big, like, I'm not shooting for an indie distributor anyway. But sometimes you have to, because, every project submitted is not going to get on. And sometimes you might have to beat the door as a self-distributor and make your own money back. Filmmaking is a grind. I kind of just want to, most of us realize, if we're filmmakers, most of you who are thinking about being a filmmaker, you're gonna find that out. This is a grind, and it's hard. So it matters on, as far as distribution. It matters on your goals. It matters on your project. It matters on a lot of parameters. If you're fine with getting into the usual spots, maybe Tubi, Film Hub may be a great platform for you. I have nothing bad to say about Film Hub, other than, you know, support sometimes is a little slow. But it seems like a small company with only a few people doing those type of jobs, so I can understand that. But other than that, I don't have any complaints. Um, you have to carry the load yourself. You have to get creative with your own promotion. You have to promote, because they're not doing none of that for you. A more, low risk distributors somewhere like Indies Rights. You have a few others out there with short terms, and they're straight and upfront about everything. that would be my next option. The option I'm most likely going with from this point forward. And then you have your more traditional distributors. It all matters on you. How do you want to make your film happen? But distribution is a part of the process. Excuse me. That was just boiling right there. Had to get that one out. Distribution is a part of the process. It's how you get your film out in the world. Even if you don't go through a company like Film Hub and you decide to do it the old-fashioned way off of your website, Vimeo on demand or something like that, it's still going to be a grind. In today's world, especially in the indie world, if I have to promote, if I still have to do most of that legwork, why am I seeking a distributor and paying these crazy fees? That's just my look. It's just my look. And anytime you take even a minimum guarantee or a production deal where they basically pay for the movie, you just have to be, you just have to know what you're signing up for. You take that money from a production deal, that movie is no longer yours. Your name's on the credit, but some of these companies, like the one I was mentioning earlier, if you take a production deal from them, you're probably coming out from the better end, because if you take a traditional deal with them, you're not going to see money anyway. So, I mean, after your term is over, you may can get your money back, but I can't see you the way that deal, unless I was just a one of a kind, which I don't think I am, because I've talked to a few other filmmakers. But unless I'm just a one of a kind filmmaker, I see no way I can make a profit ever again after I take that MG. Because not only do you have to pay that MG back, you have to pay these crazy fees back, and then they give you like a half split on the back end. You're never going to pay those fees back. You just had to be real. So somewhere, that same company also offers production deals. I would be better off taking that production deal, paying myself out of that money, paying my cast, getting the movie made, and just handing the film over, because you're doing that for way less of a MG if you go the alternate route of going the traditional distribution route. You'll never see money again. So I would, if that's the way you don't care about being an owner and having your film long term, if it's all about money for you, take the production deal and do it that way. And maybe that's how a company like that is beneficial for you and other filmmakers, instead of going the traditional distribution route where you'll never see another dime. It just matters on you as a filmmaker. How do you want to get your film out there? What matters to you? Is it money or ownership? And make your decision from there. For me, it's ownership. I don't mind getting out there and putting the legwork out. But for one, my budgets are minute. I don't have 6-figure and beyond budgets. I don't have to pay back investors. So my option may not be your option. What works for me may not work for you. So just keep that in mind. I will never get out here and tell you, don't do this, don't do that. Don't ever work with a traditional distribution. Don't ever take a production deal. Don't ever self-distribute. I would never tell you that, because it's different strokes for different folks. It's an inherently gray world. Nothing is black and white. So whatever works for you as a filmmaker, just do the research, talk to other filmmakers, and make a decision. Because this landscape of filmmaking is ever changing. Every single day is ever changing. What works today may not work tomorrow. So you better start thinking about it. Be ever fluid on that mindset. And that's basically all I had to talk about. It's a topic that, kind of bled over from my film festival talk in the last episode. And now we're talking about it again with distribution. It all goes hand in hand. And from this point on, even with the film that I'm writing now, like, when I was talking about film festivals on the last episode, like I'm Xing out film festivals altogether. Like, the more I grow as a filmmaker, the more I do this, I just don't see, maybe one or two, but I just don't see the point anymore, especially for feature films. So, it's all on distribution. I'm constantly looking up and researching and taking in content when people talk about certain distributors and just trying to see what options there are out there and not scan them and research them individually. Like, that's the way that you have to go. So hopefully you got some good tidbits from this. The more, the more and more that I see a lot of this information is coming open. I talk through experience a lot. So what worked for me or what happened to me may not happen for another filmmaker. You just have to get out there and do your own research and come up with your own opinions and do what you want to do, what works for you. Coming up on 38 minutes, and I'm not going to be here that long like I usually have been. I think we got most of it out. If you're on Facebook or on YouTube, maybe, it just matters on what type of video goes through my podcasting service to YouTube. But you see the little ticker at the bottom. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Guerilla Filmer. GUERILLAFILMER. Follow me on all social media platforms. If you're on YouTube, click like, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Facebook, like and follow the page. Share this video to somebody who may need to hear it. This is the Guerilla Filmer episode 9. Episode 10, we're going to start talking to some guests. We're going to have to start spicing up these conversations just a little bit as I start talking to some guests, start inviting some more low budget, no budget filmmakers in, actors, all of the likes, and we're going to kind of start upping this podcast content up a level. So excited for what's in the future, excited to see this show grow as I grow myself, and you stay tuned, and we're going to keep this thing going bi-weekly. We're going on every Monday now, bi-weekly post. And, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow me wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google, Deezer, all of the podcast sites. We are there. Download us, follow us, listen. We're coming back next Monday. And if all goes well, I have a guest and we'll have a nice conversation to come back with. Until next time, this is Jerron Lockridge. This is the Guerilla Filmer episode. The Guerilla Filmer Podcast episode